and I heard from across the house, John, John. So I came in and she stood there. She said, my water broke. Stubborn person that she is, she said, well, I'm just gonna stay here for a few more hours just to get
one more hour.
Get into labor a little more. And I looked at her mom, and her mom looked at me, and her mom said, and I said, nope, it's time to go. It was a slow process to begin with. Mm-hmm. And you can definitely tell that it built up because the pain got more and more. And you probably wouldn't believe this when I said this, but Margaret got a little more meaner and meaner, which I fully understand why. Not really, but I can just empathize, sympathize, whichever one that is. Her mother politely reminded her that, honey, just remember what you're about to go through. Blame it on Eve because Eve ate the first bite of the apple. So I politely reminded Margaret that a couple of times, and she didn't feel like that was very funny, especially during the contractions.
He gave a couple of smart aleck comments that I didn't appreciate. And then at one point he told me I had to quit squeezing his left hand and move to his right hand because the wedding ring was pressing on his finger. And I don't remember exactly what I said, but it was something to the extent of, deal with it.
Deal with it, you're married. Everybody needs to know it. And I was like, my wife would never say this to me in a normal mind, so I'll let that go. But the nurse in labor and delivery was also very helpful and very kind. But as time went on, you could tell that the pain was building up. And throughout all of this, Margaret decided that she wanted to have a natural birth. And so that's the plan that we went with.
I've watched hundreds of women give birth and deal with contractions. It was a whole lot harder than I thought it was going to be, a whole lot harder. And I had prepared, I'd watched a ton of videos, I had done a lot of research on how to handle natural birth and the pain of contractions. And let me tell you, didn't even come close to the real thing for me. I know some women are able to ace natural birth with little to no pain and they just champ it out the entire time. I give them all the kudos and credit. I didn't. That hurt. And the pain was very, very intense. So I started counting down. I would start at 45 and I had myself a good little pattern. I knew when it was going to get the worst. By the time I got low, contraction was done. That worked for about half an hour to an hour. And then it got so bad that John and my mom had to count for me to help me stay on track. And then around, what time did I ask for the epidural?
Probably 3:30.
Yes.
She said, I want an epidural and I want it now. And you know, I wasn't prepared to know what it really means. So I look at her mama, and her mama looked at me and said, that's her choice. And I look at the nurse and I said, that's her choice. I don't care about money. At that point, I said, as long as mom and baby are healthy.
The nurse told me that, well, why don't I check you and we'll see where you're at? Because the last time she had checked me around 2, I had been 5 centimeters. And 100% effaced. I was doing contraction after contraction. They were coming really close together. So I really didn't want her checking me. So it was a few minutes before she checked me and I was 8.5. And she did exactly what I would have wanted her to do. She looked at me and told me that if I wanted the epidural, it was mine within the next 10 minutes, but that she really thought that I could finish what I had started and continue with natural birth. She told me I could do it, but it was up to me. And that really helped me, realizing, okay, I'm very close. I have made it this far. I had quite a few friends who had done natural birth, and in the back of my head, I kept thinking, I don't want to be the wimp that gets an epidural. That was what was going through my head. I wouldn't have been a wimp getting an epidural, but that's how I felt at the moment. So I continued with contractions and they got worse and worse. So I asked for the nitrous oxide. Didn't know much about it. I had wanted to do more research looking into it, but I knew it was an option. First time that I used it, she handed me the mask and I put it up to my face and I was doing all the breathing and I got done with a contraction and I said, I don't think it really helped me. And the nurse very politely told me that when I had grabbed it from her hand, I disconnected it from the tubing.
That's right.
And
Her mom and I just stood there and kind of looked at each other, and I was like, just don't say anything. Wait for the next break before we break it to her. So that was pretty funny.
Yeah. So it made me feel better because I was like, this piece of junk, it's not helping at all. And the nurse just very calmly said, well, it's not hooked up yet. So once I got it, it did not help with the pain. It was more, it gave me something to do, and it definitely made me lightheaded, I will say that. And that's pretty much how we continued until I had the urge to push. And I knew I needed to push. And Katelyn's heart rate was dropping, and it kept staying in the 70s, which is not a safe level for a baby to be in. I knew it was not a safe level. A lot of times the heart rate will quickly drop if the baby is descending quickly. So I got a little worried when they told me her heart rate was dropping, but the urge to push was still very, very strong. So I figured out on one contraction that if I tried to push, it helped with the pain. Well, the doctor wasn't in there yet, and her heart rate was staying in the 70s. So everybody was in my face telling me, don't push, don't push. The baby's heart rate's low, do it for the baby, don't push. And I had a small come apart. I was like, I have to push. And then I saw the NICU team come in, who I'm very familiar with, obviously, used to be a part of them. And that made me realize the baby's not doing well if they've been called.
And I did not realize this at all. I thought they came in because Margaret used to work there and they were being nice to be there on standby just in case. I had no clue that they were called because the baby was not doing well.
But in the end, the doctor came in and they finally let me start pushing.
Yeah, 1 minute it was like, do not push, do not push. And then the next minute they were like, well, the doctor's coming, push, push. So I switched from do not push to push, push.
He was in my face and he goes, do not push. And of course I yelled back, I can't help it. So about 45 minutes of pushing, and the doctor was great. I'd asked for the mirror so that I could see her coming out. That was important to me. And each push, or after each contraction, the doctor let me look in the mirror and see her little head come out more and more and more. And that really gave me the urge and the motivation to continue. I was ready to give up at one point. I felt like this is bad. But then seeing her sweet little head gave me all the motivation I needed to get her out. And once she came out,
Hold on. So in the process of all this, just so you know, I was not ready. They did not know I was not ready. So while Margaret wanted to look, they also wanted to make sure that I could see it. And at one point the nurse was like, Dad, can you see? And I was like, I'm trying not to, or else you have two of us to take care of.
I almost started laughing. I was in the middle of a contraction when he said that, but I almost started laughing because it cracked me up.
But anyways, at 5:05, on November the 26th, our sweet girl came. So when she came out, I didn't know what's happening, but Margaret sitting over here started giving orders to the doctor. And you know, I think some of it is because she knows too much. But she started, well, hand him to this person, hand that to person. And the doctor was like, I've got it. Margaret was like, no, give it to that person. And
I only asked once.
Yeah, and
I was worried. I wanted her to go and get checked out on the warmer.
And then it made sense to me because she was like, the baby is blue. And so I was like, oh yeah, the baby is blue. And then the baby's not crying. And then they made the baby cry, which I knew that part. I knew the baby had to cry. So they started like pumping and sucking stuff out of her nose and her mouth, and she started crying, which is then I knew that we have a healthy baby and the baby's good. So then they start putting the baby in a warmer, which at that point is when it really hits me like, wow, okay, she's adorable, but she's mine.
Oh, and then tell them about the placenta coming out, honey.
That part, let me tell you, I was not prepared. This is probably too TMI, but I was not prepared for all of that. So during this whole process, right, the baby was on the warmer getting done. The doctor started pulling out this bag to put underneath Margaret. And I was like, what? No, that's
beforehand.
Before that. So the baby was pushing, and I was standing there, and the doctors pull out this bag to put underneath Margaret. And I was like, what are they gonna do with that bag? Is the baby gonna go in there first? You know, and then the baby came out, they handed the baby off, and the doctor pulled his, I was paying attention to the baby, and just out of the corner of my eye, the doctor pulled this whole thing out of Margaret. It looks like a deflated wet balloon. That's the best way I can describe that. I was like, oh, that's where that's going. Got to cut the cord, which was a little nerve-wracking because I've always had this fear that when I cut the cord, things start shooting in my face, then I really would pass out. And let me tell you, after seeing what happened, I really don't want to be on that floor, so. But overall, I thought we did well together.
We did.
Margaret did a lot of the work, but the baby's here, she's healthy.
The cutest comment was about 10 minutes after she was born. The doctor was stitching me up because I needed a lot of stitches. And John is over there at the warmer and he goes, I just think it's so cool. Her eyes are open. I didn't think her eyes would open until a couple of days. And everybody in the room started laughing. And at the same time, 3 of us said, that's baby puppies, John.
That's to tell you how prepared I was for this whole birthing thing.
And he goes, I didn't think her eyes were gonna open for almost a week. And anyway, we were just all laughing over the fact that I guess you had heard somewhere that baby puppies don't have their eyes open or whatever. But anyway, so we all had a good laugh over that.
It was really special for Margaret to hand me the baby for the first time, which we got a little couple footages of it. Her mom was extremely helpful. I specifically am thankful that her mom was there because a lot of these things I was not prepared for.
I heard him ask her a couple of times. I couldn't respond because I was having contractions. But as different things happened during labor, bloody show, etc., I would hear him go, is that normal? Is that okay? And I didn't hear the response most of the time. I think my mom just would kind of nod and help him through it. But
you know, the thing is, you really don't want to watch these videos beforehand because it's just too graphic. But then you probably should because, you know, it's going to be graphic one way or the other. So you might as well mentally prepare for this. But anyways, our baby girl has been home for 2 weeks now. So
a couple of things that were really sweet or challenging postpartum. We gave her her first little bath.
In the hospital.
Then she had to go under phototherapy. So we had a little glow baby for a whole day. And then thank the Lord, her levels came down. She was on the really high end of things.
Which explained the whole comments about black poopy diaper in the previous video, if you watched it. Mm-hmm. I was not prepared for that either, by the way. We
gave her her first bath. She got to be a little glowworm. We tried to do a going home picture session. She wanted nothing of it. She cried the entire time. But in the end, we took our sweet girl home on she was born on Friday. We took her home Sunday morning. So 2 days, and she was just perfect. So, what did I think of natural labor? Women tell me that it's empowering. It is the best feeling ever. That you walk away from natural labor and you just feel like you conquered the world and you are a champ. What did I think of natural labor? I think it's for the birds. And the next time I will have an epidural and I will enjoy labor with my husband.
She told me at the end, she said, the next time if I would decide to go into natural labor again, just slap me. And I said, okay, you asked for it.
Now, when the next one comes along, we will see if I've changed my mind. But for right now, the plan is an epidural. I did not feel empowered. I did not feel like a champ. I felt like I hurt and I felt like it had been miserable.
So what we learned through all of this is always prepare. You know, like at week 35, go on and pack your bags.
Yep.
At week 36, probably watch a couple of videos. I did pull my first all-nighter. I've never done it.
I've not either.
Even in college, finals, no finals, exam, no exam, I always passed out. I just couldn't do it. But I guess homegirl had a different idea.
He told me early in the night he was gonna fall asleep or take a nap. And I didn't think it was funny. So yeah, he stayed awake and then we both passed out in the room later.
It was definitely different, but an eye-opening experience. And I would like to do a video about her first week in which we'll cover a couple of things that happened in the hospital and her first week at home, her first bath, her first walk, and all of that. So I hope you come back for that. I hope you found it funny like we did. I hope you learn from me and prepare a little more if you are a soon-to-be dad. If you're new here, I'm glad you're here. If you've been here before, thank you so much. If you haven't subscribed, I hope you subscribe. Look at this cute little baby. Don't you want to see her again? Yeah?